Through the years, drag racing has seen a major shift from what it was in the beginning to the major sporting industry that it has become today. Where have the days of friends and their cars gone, and who will be around to tell these stories of a day when drag racing was exciting and new? Growing up in Santa Maria was a bit different than bigger cities, so the younger generations turned to their hot rods to entertain themselves.
So California was kind of the hotbed of racing in those days, and even though it was being done back in Florida and the Midwest, I don't think they were measured quarter miles. They were just doing the same thing we were. They were just taking, as long as you have two cars, they're going to go out and race. And they were on back roads, airstrips, whatever they get their hands on. But it was California that really was the hotbed that started things. So it was Santa Maria was a big part of it. There were some big names back in the day that raced here in Santa Maria.
Having possession of a hot rod meant everything. It meant having a higher social status and getting invited to all the races.
To have a nice looking car was very important, and back then what I had was what we call rat rods today. We just didn't call them those back then. It was half primered, half paint, and rattled and clattered, and I was working on it probably more than I drove it. But it was a way of life, when you could modify things, and today because of smog rules you can't do that.
In the 1950s, certain areas pushed to make this pastime fun into legalized sporting events with registered racetracks and permits.
They formed it in 1950. They started in 1950. Actually, I think started running in 51, if I'm not mistaken, but it was the third legal sanctioned drag strip in the United States. I believe Goleta was the first, Santa Ana, and then Santa Maria. That was to get the kids off the street because there was accidents happening, in those days, and cars weren't as well put together as they are today, and people were out hitting trees, rolling cars, and dying, and so they had to have a place to go. So the police got on board with us, Highway Patrol as well. There were drag strips all over. Saugus had one, Goleta had one, of course Santa Maria, San Luis Obispo, Madera. You just start working your way north. There was drag strips, Half Moon Bay. They were all over California.
Today they continue to fight with Santa Barbara County to reopen a drag strip in Santa Maria.
Different things from FAA to land encroachment, housing encroachment has shut these down. And today we have just a handful left in California.
In the late 60s, the Dragons became a car club. There is still about a half a dozen members alive today, gentlemen in their 80s.
Well, the Santa Maria Dragons were founded out of a need for the drag strip. A gentleman by the name of Gail Brady, who is on the police force, still alive today, was the one that was very instrumental with a few of the young men in town. And they got together in a gas station one night and they raised the hoist, the lift, and they used that as a bench, and they all sat there, and that's where they had their first meeting, was right downtown Broadway in Santa Maria.
As for these gentlemen, they will carry their passions they have held on to, and the question remains, who will pass on these stories when they're gone?
I'm very passionate about it because I'm afraid that when they're gone, we lose their stories. And they've never written these things down, and I know 6 of them. And they've all got great stories. I mean, they all started it. They were there on the ground floor of 5051. And there's 2 or 3 of them that got memories like a steel trap. And they can tell you stories all day long and bring up all kinds of neat things. And I want to capture all this before they're gone. Because, like I say, when they go, their stories are going with them.